If you look closely at the trajectory of a truly recognized, respected professional, you will almost never find a single dramatic moment of overnight success. When ordinary employees look at someone who has earned a prestigious title, a significant promotion, or the deep trust of senior leadership, they instinctively assume there must be a secret formula. They assume that person had a lucky break, knew the right people at the right moment, or made one bold political move that launched them to the top overnight. But the reality of how genuine professional recognition is actually built is far more boring and infinitely more powerful. Lasting career success and real influence inside an organization are simply the natural result of a few quiet, consistent daily behaviors repeated relentlessly over time. To understand why so many talented people fail to get recognized at work, we have to look honestly at the immense pressure of the modern office environment. The ordinary employee today is exhausted. You arrive early, sit through back-to-back meetings, spend 8 or 10 hours putting out fires for a manager, and return home physically and mentally depleted. Meanwhile, the expectations quietly creep higher every single quarter. When you feel professionally overlooked, perpetually behind on deliverables, and chronically tired, your brain naturally looks for a shortcut. You do not want to hear about a 3-year plan that requires patience. You want recognition by Friday. This deep, understandable desire for a quick professional rescue leads directly into what I call the illusion of the career leap. The modern workplace and the internet are perfectly designed to feed this illusion. They constantly broadcast stories of people who supposedly went from unknown intern to executive by playing office politics perfectly, by boldly interrupting a CEO in an elevator, or by going viral in a company all-hands meeting. They sell you the idea that visibility is a lottery, that if you just make one audacious move, you can skip the hard work and instantly land at the top. But the mathematics of the career leap are incredibly dangerous. When you attempt to leap over the fundamental steps of professional credibility, you almost always end up sacrificing your existing reputation. You make a dramatic gesture to get noticed and it backfires. You self-promote aggressively without the substance to back it up, and colleagues quietly lose respect for you. The people who actually win the long game of professional recognition do not rely on dramatic political gestures. They understand that a durable, unshakable reputation is not built through loud, risky moves. It is forged in the quiet, consistent moments of the workday, in the behaviors nobody is watching, but everyone eventually notices. Today we are going to strip away the noise. We are not going to talk about memorizing a script to impress your boss or learning how to dress for the job you want. Instead, we are going to look at 6 quiet, highly practical daily habits that actually work. The grounded behaviors that separate the professionals who remain invisible from those who slowly, inevitably become the most valued, most trusted, and most recognized people in any room. These 6 habits are not empty motivational slogans. They are tangible actions you can begin taking today, regardless of your current title or how long you have been at the company. We will look at how to defend the boundaries of your attention before your workday begins, how to fundamentally change your relationship with small professional opportunities, and how to aggressively compound your own value inside the organization. We will examine the immense professional power of radical accountability, the performance necessity of protecting your cognitive energy, and the simple evening protocol that eliminates the friction of tomorrow. If you are willing to abandon the illusion of the career leap and commit to the quiet discipline of these 6 daily habits, your professional life will begin to change. The progress will feel invisible at first, but over the course of months and years, those tiny repeated behaviors will compound into an unstoppable professional momentum. You will escape the cycle of being overlooked, lower your workplace anxiety, and quietly position yourself as the person every leader wants in the room. Let us begin. Habit 1. Own your first hour. If you want to fundamentally change how you show up at work, you have to look incredibly closely at the first 60 minutes of your day. The battle for your focus, your emotional stability, and your professional performance is usually won or lost before you even leave your house. For the vast majority of hardworking employees, the morning is not a time of preparation. It is a time of immediate chaotic surrender. You set your alarm for the latest possible minute. The moment it goes off, the very first thing you do is reach for your smartphone. In that precise fraction of a second, you have completely handed the steering wheel of your day over to the outside world. You open your email and instantly you are hit with a passive-aggressive message from a colleague or an urgent demand from your manager. You open LinkedIn and compare your stagnant title to the carefully curated highlight reels of strangers. Before your feet have even touched the floor, you are already playing defense. Your cortisol is elevated, your mood has been hijacked, and your nervous system is running in panic mode. You then spend the next 40 minutes rushing frantically through your house, skipping breakfast, spilling your coffee, and walking out the door already feeling hopelessly behind. You arrive at the office completely depleted, operating in a state of permanent reaction. When your day begins from a defensive crouch, you spend the remaining hours simply bracing for the next blow. You cannot build a recognized, respected career if your foundational operating mode is anxiety. The first powerful daily habit is the absolute, uncompromising defense of your first hour. Choice. You must consciously claim the first 45 to 60 minutes of the morning as a psychological margin of safety, a thick defensive wall around your mind before the corporate machine is allowed to speak to you. This does not require an extreme routine. You do not need to wake up at 4 a.m. or perform a complex series of optimization rituals. It simply means waking up a little earlier than absolutely necessary, perhaps 45 minutes before the chaos begins. You leave your smartphone charging in another room. You walk into a quiet kitchen, brew your coffee, and allow your brain to boot up naturally. You read a few pages of something that elevates your thinking, a book on leadership, communication, or your industry. And then you perform one vital act of quiet strategy. You ask yourself, what is the single most important thing I need to accomplish professionally today? You set your own priority before your inbox dictates it for you. The compounding power of this single habit is difficult to overstate. When you secure the first hour for yourself, you step into the office from a position of quiet strength. When a colleague sends a passive-aggressive email at 10 a.m. or your manager drops an unexpected project on your desk, you do not react with impulsive frustration. You respond with calm, rational judgment. And in the modern workplace, emotional composure is an extraordinarily rare and visible quality. People who are chronically rushed and reactive make poor decisions, snap at the wrong people, and lack the patience for the deep work that actually gets you noticed. But the person who owns their morning owns their judgment, and their judgment is what leadership observes. Habit 2. Respect small opportunities. When we talk about professional recognition, there is a very dangerous mindset that quietly destroys the potential of millions of talented employees. It is the apathy of small moments. When ordinary professionals feel overwhelmed by the size of the gap between where they are and where they want to be, they often develop a kind of professional fatalism. They look at a small task, a minor assignment, or a seemingly insignificant request and think, "This is beneath me. This won't change anything." This mindset leads directly to a pattern of invisible mediocrity. Because you feel that only the big visible projects matter, you begin to treat small daily responsibilities carelessly. You send emails with typos. You arrive 2 minutes late to meetings repeatedly. You deliver a routine report, good enough, rather than truly well done. You tell yourself you are saving your energy for when it really counts. But here is the brutal professional truth. Leaders almost never hand big visible opportunities to people they have not already observed executing the small invisible ones. The second powerful daily habit is treating every small professional interaction as a direct investment in your reputation. This is not about being a perfectionist or burning yourself out on trivialities. It is about fundamentally changing how you view the small moments passing through your day. High performers do not see a routine email as a throwaway task. They see it as a data point they are depositing into the trust account their colleagues hold for them. Every meeting they attend fully prepared, every deadline they meet without being chased, every small commitment they honor without exception. These are seeds. The habit itself is a quiet daily pause. Before you dismiss a small task as unimportant, you stop for 3 seconds and ask, "Is the way I am about to handle this consistent with the professional I am trying to become?" You begin to see that you are not just filing a report, you are actively deciding what your reputation will be constructed of. When you consistently execute the small things with excellence, the math begins to compound in your favor. Slowly, managers and senior leaders begin to register your name as synonymous with reliability. When a high-visibility project opens up and leadership needs someone they can trust completely, they do not search for a new person. They look around the room for the person who has already proven themselves in the details. That can be you, but only if you stop treating small opportunities as beneath your attention. Habit 3. Compound your professional value daily. When we discuss career advancement, the conversation almost always defaults to external strategies, networking events, getting a mentor, positioning yourself politically. But for the ordinary employee, this focus misses the most critical variable in the entire equation. Before the organization can recognize your value, you must first generate that value. And the engine that generates professional value is not your title or your tenure. It is your mind. There is a tragic, widespread misconception about professional development. Most employees assume that learning is a season that ends once they have been onboarded and trained. They believe that once they have mastered the basics of the job, the hard work of intellectual development is officially over. This leads directly to the devastating anti-habit of the stagnant employee. You get a good position in your late 20s. For the first 6 months, you are highly engaged in absorbing everything. But once you achieve a basic level of confidence, you turn your brain off. You clock in, execute the same series of tasks you did yesterday, and clock out. Your evenings are entirely dedicated to passive entertainment. Because you receive a steady paycheck, you develop a deep illusion of safety. But the modern workplace is cold and rational. It does not reward tenure. It rewards utility. While you are coasting, the broader economy is shifting. New tools are introduced. New methodologies emerge. Younger colleagues with updated skills are entering the workforce. If you are standing still, you are mathematically moving backward. The third powerful daily habit is the quiet, relentless daily compounding of your own professional value. You must accept that the organization does not pay a premium for your time. It pays a premium for your ability to solve complex, expensive problems. And you cannot solve tomorrow's problems with yesterday's knowledge. The habit itself is unglamorous. It does not require an MBA or an expensive certification. It simply requires you to dedicate 30 undisturbed minutes every single day to actively upgrading your professional mind. You read a chapter on negotiation strategy, study a framework for data analysis, practice a new software tool your team uses, or go deep into understanding the business model of your company's biggest competitor. You treat this 30-minute window not as an optional hobby, but as a mandatory daily deposit into your most valuable professional account. In the short term, the results are invisible, but knowledge compounds exactly like interest. As you maintain this boring daily discipline over months and years, a remarkable phenomenon occurs. The mental models you have quietly built begin to connect. A framework you studied 3 months ago suddenly solves a problem your team has been stuck on for weeks. You see a clear, elegant answer that everyone else in the room is completely blind to, and the moment you articulate it calmly and confidently, your professional trajectory changes. You transition from being a replaceable pair of hands into becoming an indispensable strategic asset. You become the person who holds the institutional knowledge, who connects the dots, who can be trusted with the most critical, high-value work. When you reach that level, you no longer wait to be recognized. Recognition seeks you out. Habit 4. Practice radical accountability. If you watch how careers are actually built inside organizations, past the entry level and up into the realms of serious leadership, you will quickly realize that the most valuable professional currency is not skill or performance, it is trust. And nothing destroys professional trust faster or more permanently than the instinct to cover up a mistake. Let us examine the exact psychology of this downward spiral. You are a hard-working employee and you make a mistake. Perhaps you miscommunicate a deadline, misread a brief, or inadvertently send an incomplete report to an important client. It is a genuine error, not a malicious act. But the moment you realize what happened, a primitive biological panic sets in. You fear looking incompetent. You fear your manager's reaction. You fear the stain on your professional image. So instead of confronting the error immediately, you choose the path of least resistance. You smooth it over. You vaguely redirect the conversation. You stay quiet and hope no one digs into it. In that moment, You feel a massive wave of temporary relief. But you have just invited a suffocating parasite into your professional life. The mistake has mutated into something far more dangerous, a cover-up. And cover-ups carry enormous hidden costs. Your cognitive energy is now partially consumed by managing the false narrative. Every meeting related to that project spikes your anxiety. Your weekends are subtly poisoned by a low-frequency hum of professional dread. When the truth inevitably surfaces, and it always does, the penalty is completely disproportionate. The original mistake would have cost you a difficult 5-minute conversation. The cover-up costs you your credibility, potentially permanently. The fourth powerful daily habit is the armor of immediate accountability. High performers completely reject the cover-up instinct. When they make a mistake, they do not pause, strategize, or spin the narrative. They do the hardest possible thing in the very first minute. The habit looks exactly like this. You realize you have made an error. Your heart drops and the panic flares. But instead of hiding, you stand up, walk directly to your manager, look them in the eye and say, "I made a mistake. It is entirely my responsibility. Here is exactly what I am doing right now to fix it." No deflection, no qualifications, no passive pointing toward external circumstances. In the short term, this is deeply uncomfortable, but the professional dividends are massive. First, you experience an immediate psychological relief. You carry no burden, no anxiety, no fragile story to maintain. You sleep perfectly because you have absolutely nothing to hide. Second, you disarm your critics completely. When you indict yourself before anyone else can, you strip the emotion from the room and redirect all energy toward solving the actual problem. But the most profound benefit happens over the long run. When you behave this way consistently, year after year, leadership begins to realize something extraordinary about you. They never have to second-guess the information you give them. You become the rare person whose word is an absolute certainty. And when senior leaders are looking for someone to run a sensitive, high-stakes initiative, they do not search for someone who has never made a mistake. They search for someone whose integrity is mathematically reliable. That reputation becomes a permanent fortress around your career. Habit 5. Protect your cognitive engine. It is very easy when thinking about professional recognition to focus entirely on external behaviors. What you do at your desk, how you present in meetings, what you say to whom. But all of those external performances are ultimately executed by a single biological machine, your brain. You can possess sharp skills, a spotless reputation, and strong professional relationships, but if the internal engine running all of those assets is chronically depleted, the mathematics of your career will still fail. There is a toxic narrative in modern workplace culture that treats the human brain like a limitless productivity machine designed to be pushed to its absolute limits. We are told that responding to emails at midnight signals dedication, that skipping lunch is a badge of ambition, and that the people who sacrifice their health for output are the ones who get ahead. Millions of hard-working professionals have internalized this lie. Because you feel pressure to prove yourself, you systematically borrow against your own cognitive health. You cut your sleep to 5 hours so you can finish a presentation at midnight. You skip movement entirely because you are too busy. You eat lunch at your desk without looking up from your screen. In your 20s and early 30s, the human body is resilient enough that there is no immediate catastrophic penalty. But biology does not offer free passes. It only offers delayed invoices. A chronically sleep-deprived, physically stagnant mind undergoes measurable cognitive impairment. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for strategic thinking, impulse control, and long-term planning, becomes severely compromised. The emotional, reactive centers of your brain go into overdrive. You become short-sighted, irritable, and prone to exactly the kinds of impulsive decisions that damage your professional reputation. You snap at a colleague. You deliver shallow work on a complex assignment. You enter a high-stakes presentation without the cognitive endurance to navigate it gracefully. You are physically present but professionally absent. The fifth powerful daily habit is the relentless, non-negotiable defense of your biological machine. Specifically through the uncompromising protection of your sleep and the implementation of daily physical movement. This requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Sleep is not unproductive time. Sleep is the mechanism through which your brain consolidates the information you absorbed during the day, repairs cellular tissue, and restores the executive function required to perform at a high level. Consistently prioritizing 8 hours of quality sleep is one of the highest leverage professional investments you can make. Alongside sleep, you must adopt the compounding power of daily movement. You do not need an extreme fitness routine or an expensive gym membership. The simple act of taking a brisk 30-minute walk every day produces extraordinary professional returns over time. Walking flushes stress hormones from your bloodstream, lowers your emotional reactivity, and sharpens the creative thinking that solves complex problems. When you treat your sleep and your daily walk with the same seriousness you treat your calendar and your inbox, you build an unshakable physiological foundation. You show up to every meeting, every presentation, and every difficult conversation with full cognitive capacity. The kind of sustained mental clarity that is visibly, unmistakably different from the exhausted, depleted performance of colleagues who are running on empty. Habit 6. Architect your tomorrow. Tonight, even if you master the discipline of owning your morning, treating small opportunities with respect, and protecting your cognitive energy, your days can still easily derail if you force yourself to navigate constant logistical friction from the moment you open your eyes. To ensure that your professional mornings remain a protected margin of focus, you must understand a profoundly underestimated biological limitation: decision fatigue. The human brain does not possess an infinite capacity for making choices. Willpower and cognitive bandwidth are finite resources that deplete with use. Every decision you make, regardless of how trivial it seems, burns a fraction of your daily mental fuel. Now consider the professional who collapses into bed every night without having prepared anything for the following morning. The alarm goes off, and immediately a barrage of micro-decisions begins. What am I wearing? Where are my notes for the 9 a.m. meeting? Did I confirm that call? What is the most important thing I need to accomplish today? All of this mental friction is burning through your most precious cognitive fuel on pure logistics, before you have contributed a single ounce of valuable work. This behavior seems entirely normal to most employees, but it carries a massive hidden professional cost. If you burn 30% of your daily decision-making capacity simply navigating your morning launch, you arrive at your desk fundamentally compromised. When the complex high-stakes work lands on your desk at 10 a.m., the kind of work that gets you recognized, you no longer have the mental endurance to do it brilliantly. You default to the most reactive, least impressive solution. And you do this day after day, quietly wondering why your best efforts never seem to be quite enough. The sixth and final powerful daily habit is spending 10 minutes every evening architecting your tomorrow. Effective professionals do not leave their mornings to chance. They understand that a focused, high-performance day